Hello, my name is Ruth Andrade and I am head of environment at Lush. Actually, I have a very crazy, more complicated job title. I work with regenerative impact and I'm part of the team that do what we call Earth Care, which is bringing together engagement around sustainability and regeneration, also the kind of day-to-day environmental management, and what we call impact reporting. So how can we measure and help us navigate and make decisions based on our impact on the planet. I've also been working in the environmental movement for many years. Probably I've been doing this longer than your age. And I think we are in a very, very special moment at this time on the planet. So we have taken a collective breath. We know we are in this combination of multiple crises, but out of this time that we are seeing how human health and planetary health are together, hopefully this is going to give us the right inspiration and the right initiative to do things better and to solve all the crises at the same time. So I'm going to start by just spending a couple of minutes talking about Lush. I work for Lush Cosmetics. And then we're going to go into what does it mean to leave the world lusher than we found it and look into some real examples of how we can regenerate the planet. And I'm going to finish answering some questions from a Q&A that Lush customers in Sweden have sent to us. So yeah, let's dive into this journey together. The first thing I wanted to say is that we are a global business. We are in nearly 50 countries, and this is our 25th anniversary. What a year, to celebrate. And we have over 900 shops. So over the years, we've always taken a strong ethical stand about many, many issues. So our purpose, I keep saying that the purpose is in our name. How can we leave the world lusher than we found it? And the word lush in the dictionary means thriving and abundant and green. So how can we leave the world more thriving and fertile and greener by existing as a business? So how can the world be a better place because we're here? What does it take for a company or any kind of institution to really be able to say that? This is the discovery that we're in the process now. We're also well known for making products that require no packaging. So I don't know, how do you wash your hair at the moment? Are you using a shampoo in a bottle? Are you already using a shampoo bar that doesn't require any plastic or any packaging? Like, have you even thought around changing some of your habits in order to reduce your own impact? So some of the things that Lush has been facilitating is how can we facilitate a zero waste lifestyle? And our key darling of this zero waste world that we want to support is the shampoo bar, where one bar is the equivalent of 3 bottles. So, we're avoiding quite a lot of plastic. And over the years, we've avoided a lot of plastic. I don't know if you've heard about the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. Is this big patch where a lot of plastics, because of the ocean current, they concentrate in the Pacific Ocean. And they say it's like the size of the state of Texas in the US, but no one really knows. I'm sure you've all heard about this. You're like smart young people. Well, if you take all the shampoo bars we've sold, it's the equivalent of 4% of the garbage patch. So, we may think it's just a small thing to do, but it can actually have a big impact if everyone does it. All right, so we've done things like open a naked shop where you can buy everything with no packaging. You can bring your own containers, for example. We also have been very involved in campaigns. So again, how can a business be a voice and a platform for lots of amazing organizations doing incredible work? And some of the campaigns we've done, we're really into wildlife. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that, but we're really into protecting wildlife, regenerating habitats for wildlife through our business. And we ran through really great campaigns. One to support orangutans in Sumatra. So actually to support a local organization to buy land that borders the forest that's full of orangutans in order to create safe zones and safe spaces where they cannot be poached. We also, after the bushfires in Australia, we launched the Koala Soap, and we set up a fund for wildlife in Australia to also support habitat restoration and all the work that has to be done. That it's going to be a long-term work to allow the animals to recover their numbers. It was a really sad situation. So again, how can through our business we be connecting and cooperating and collaborating to achieve, more health and more life on our planet? And then we have all these causes that we care about, like the climate and climate emergency. I'm sure a lot of you are concerned about this and also have studied a lot about that. And water, how do we relate with water? Because our products need loads of water. Packaging and naked that I've already mentioned. Also ecosystems. How can, through how we buy ingredients, we help protect and regenerate ecosystems like forests or mangroves or, salt pans or savannas, different types of ecosystems. We also care a lot about wildlife, as I mentioned, and about animal rights in general. We always talk about fighting animal testing. So how can we be a business that is not only not doing animal testing, but it's actively working to end animal testing? That's what we've been doing for 25 years. We like to welcome everyone, regardless of gender or your body. So we're very body positive, or your immigration status. We do a lot on human rights, immigration and refugees. So we're also very politically active in that space. We also believe in sharing fairly. So both in how we buy ingredients, we buy fair trade ingredients, we have fair trade relationships with our suppliers, and we also have fair relationships with our staff. And we also have fair relationship with the society in how we pay our taxes. That's also super important. Finally, fresh handmade. We make products, by hand. So our factories are full of people rather than full of machines. And we also believe in digital ethics and the ethics in the digital space. All right. So with all of this, what can we do to leave the world lusher than we found it? So imagine if all businesses, all organizations, all schools, all families, all individuals were really doing their best in order to leave the world better than we found it. What you're going to see on your screen is, you may have seen this graph before if you have been studying climate change. Each one of those little lines represents the average global temperature, the anomaly in the average global temperature from 1850 to 2018. So it's almost 100 or over 150 years of temperature records. And you can see there, as we know, what's happening to our world. Our world is warming. And all the warmest years are at the very end of that graph. So all the recent years, we know that most of the warmest years have been recent. So when we talk about sustainability and just doing no harm and staying where we are, we're talking about being stuck at where we are now, which means that we're still going to see climate disruption. So what we've been talking about at Lush is regeneration. So going beyond sustainability. So when we're talking about leaving the world lusher than we found it, what we mean is, let's just not do no harm. Let's actually try to make things better. Instead of adapting and mitigating climate change, let's reverse climate change. We know we can do that through soil, through forests, through oceans, blue carbon in the oceans. So I think let's go beyond sustainability and really try to have practices that help regenerate our planet, so we can, not be locked into climate chaos and actually develop and create with life. So Another picture where you can see is a place called Lost Plateau in China. It's 600 square miles that were regenerated from, no fertility, pure erosion into fertile spaces where people can grow food and survive. So that's the role that humanity can have on the planet. I think at the moment, a lot of the narrative, a lot of the stories that we're talking about climate change, they make us depressed because they paint this picture that humans have a predatory role in the world, or that humans are the virus. Humans are not the virus. It's the system that we've created that has been doing all of this damage. We can be a regenerative force on the planet. Like, humans can be a regenerative force. And how can we start unlocking and creating projects that can really showcase how we can live in harmony with the rest of nature? So, going from sustainability, when we say doing no harm, to improving the health of all the systems we touch. And this can be your group of friends. So how can you contribute to people actually being better and feeling happier? Your family, your community, the town where you are, the ecosystem, the place where you live. How can we be gradually trying to make the place richer and with more life and more animals and more plants and more trees and more flowers and more food? It's in our hands. And then I wanted to show some really cool examples. So everyone, we all go to the toilet and then we just flush our toilet. Yeah, and then that's it. We have no idea what happens to the waste. Do you know what happens when you flush the toilet in your house? Where all of that goes to? So there is a very conventional way of doing things, which is a very linear way of production or treating our waste. So with sewage, it's no different. We just flush, the waste goes into a waste treatment, and that's it. So some fertility or energy or things that we could be taken out of the waste, they are all gone. In the other picture, we see a regenerative sewage treatment. So instead of it going to a treatment plant full of concrete and machines and, that are very high energy intensive, we use the land and we use plants and we use bacteria and we use fungi. We use the soil, all the soil life to treat our water. So we can actually treat raw sewage in the landscape and get clean bathing water on the other side, while actually growing. We can grow wood, we can grow willow to make baskets. We can use things in a productive way to create more life. That's the idea of regeneration. It's like, how can we design our system so we're actually creating more and more and more life? And some of the things that Lush does. So, for example, we have a type of packaging that is made out of cork. And that's the reusable packaging that we use for our shampoo bars, for example. And the cork packaging is made from cork. And cork, you may know or you may not know, is actually the bark of an oak tree that grows in Portugal. It grows in the Mediterranean. And every 9 years, they harvest the bark, and the bark is super lightweight. So we make, cork for our bottles, but we can also shape it into a packaging. And because the way they're harvesting the cork and the people we're partnering with, they're also doing ecological restoration. So they're planting trees. They are restoring the ecosystem, the cork forest in Portugal. They are building soil. So, they don't let the soil dry. They're always covering the soil with plants. They have animals. They're increasing biodiversity. The cork packaging, so usually any material will have a carbon footprint, which is all the greenhouse gases that material is emitting during its production and during the whole life of the material. This packaging actually sequesters or draws down. It takes more greenhouse gases from the air and stores it in the trees or in the soil than it releases during production. So we say that the packaging is carbon positive. And we have a little packaging that weighs 33 grams. How much CO2 do you think that packaging can store? So through its life, right? So 33 grams, how much CO2 does it actually capture from the atmosphere while it's being produced? So option number 1, 5 times. Option number 2, 15 times. And option number 3, 30 times. 33 times, 30 times. So 1.2 kilos of CO2 per 33 gram of packaging, which means that the more we sell the product or the more we produce this, the more we're regenerating ecosystems. Of course, this shouldn't encourage, mindless consumption, but it is possible to create products that actually help fight climate change by the way we grow the products. We can also have regenerative cotton. There is regenerative beer, where the beer actually sequesters more carbon than it emits. We have regenerative mate, regenerative tea. We also have perfumes that are made with an ethanol from Brazil, where the place that grows the ethanol, so it's sugarcane, and from the sugarcane you make sugarcane juice, and then you distill the juice and some of the waste into ethanol. And then with the bagasse, with the waste from the sugarcane, they produce energy. So the place is like self-sufficient in energy. And they've created this whole way of growing the sugarcane that's really focused on biodiversity. So they've been monitoring the biodiversity in the sugarcane plantations, and they found 330 species of mammals, birds, reptiles, and amphibians. 49 species are on the endangered list. So again, we can create a product that actually increases biodiversity. And this is what we mean when we talk about leaving the world lusher than we found it. So my last example from Lush is, I think you may remember in 2011, we had a nuclear disaster in Fukushima in Japan. And the radiation really contaminates the soil. And some farmers in Japan, following some studies from the university, realized that you can grow a specific plant called rapeseed. You may have seen rapeseed oil. And the rapeseed, when it's growing, it actually absorbs the radiation from the soil. But the radiation doesn't go into the seed, into the oil seed. So the plant is cleaning the soil, cleaning the radiation from the soil. We can harvest the seeds carefully, press the oil, and the oil is clean. No radiation in the oil. So this is a way of cleaning the land with plants, even cleaning something as serious as radiation. And then we can use that oil, we use it to make soap for one of our products, and we also use it in one of our shower oils, our body oils. This is one of my favorite projects. It's like, wow, from a nuclear disaster, we can actually plant in a way that helps rebuild life in the soil and use it economically as well. So I hope you found some of these stories inspiring. And I'm going to answer now some of the questions that were sent. Some of the questions I wanted to answer. Someone asked a question about climate anxiety. I think for young people, this is really hard at the moment. I'm 42 and I still feel sometimes a little bit of climate anxiety. And the way the advice that I give on how to deal with climate anxiety is to really focus on this higher version of humanity. Like, what is the right way of being in relationship with the planet? Like, how can I contribute to a different life, a different system? And then I also feel if you're active, like if you are talking to your parents about it, talking to your school about it, talking to your friends about it, like if you can engage in the activism, but also engage in real action, like can you start growing some of your own food? Can you start, swapping clothes or swapping games or swapping toys, or can you use lots of secondhand and reduce the amount of stuff that you buy? Can you, travel? I know travel now is hard, but can you travel to an inspiring ecological place where they're doing things in a different way? I think the more active we are, the more we feel we're contributing, the more we feel that we can also be part of the solution. And it makes us feel less worried about the future, because at least, we're doing everything that we can. Uh, and and becoming leaders, of the movement. I think it's super important to see young people rising and really taking initiative and becoming leaders of the movement. There was also a question about how can I help people care about these issues? Like how can you inspire people? And I think through stories, find some nice stories, like some of the things that I shared with you today, and then share them with people. I think more adults are listening to young people more than ever. So share your stories and also share your concerns. But also share, I think, share these new stories of really how we can live, in harmony with the rest of nature, and how we can use our power as consumers to support a different kind of life and a different kind of business, and how we can be inspired by stories from indigenous people, and be inspired by stories of people that are already doing the regeneration. I think I used to talk a lot about fear, and I think making people feel fear about the future, and I thought that panic would change people. And I think it can, but now I also think we need inspiration. So I think we need to be, leading the way, like showing the science that is dark and there is reason for panic, but also showing the alternative and the inspiration. Maybe that's what I wanted to leave here with you. Like, use this time. Maybe you're still going to be in lockdown for a little bit, oh no, actually in Sweden, there is no lockdown. You can still go to school. Some of you at least. And then use this time to research and find out what are some of these stories, what are the things that we can do to inspire. And then I would love if you would let me know. So I'll also leave my email on the screen, and we have an Instagram channel where we've been putting loads of content about water, about rewilding, about foraging. So hope to see you there. And yeah, send us some questions on our Instagram channel. Thank you.